KenneyNL is a game developer that goes out of his way to create free assets for people that want to use them. He also had his own game in development called Make Room, which is an isometric room builder, and showcases his progress on his Twitter account. However, he decided to call out another creator for making a game similar to his. It is absolutely disheartening to see my game get copied to such a degree, down to the little sounds. I give a lot to the community, but please don't just copy my game. This just sucks to see. It rips the fun out of being creative. Broken heart. So Hactic is a game dev who is also making a game similar to Kenney's called Floor Corner. And while Hactic says he got inspiration from Kenney's game, the art styles looked way too similar. I don't blame Kenney for thinking this. Look at both of these games. You think these are both from the same game, but no, they're completely different. Beyond the art style, everything else about Hactic's game is just fine, but Kenney thinks that Hactic also copied those sounds. Hactic debunks this by saying the sounds from his game and Kenney's both come from the same sound pack from Itch.io. It's strange that this guy is saying copying like he owns this type of game. He wouldn't have an argument if there was a core mechanic to it that was one-to-one copy from his game and Hactic's. Maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe this guy stole some source code, right? Or he used his own assets? Not even that. Shame. From what I understood from others, that person was actually really reasonable in the past. Here he goes into his plant-carrying gameplay element, something that he might have just taken from Urban Jungle, a different and awesome game. I'm sorry, but using arguments like something he might have just taken from Urban Jungle is quite petty. You really copied your game, but criticizing random mechanics as if everything were plagiarism just to undermine someone is unfair. Creativity isn't about that. Yeah, it's totally weird to assume that if someone copied one thing, they might have also copied something else. My bad. Wait, what the fuck? I know he wants his back, but why would you think this in the first place? Have you ever played a game before? Seriously? I'm not even that much of a game developer myself, but even I know that game mechanics are freely usable across many games. This logic is absolutely insane too, because if you wanted to go by his rules, then most games wouldn't even exist. All the Metroidvanias, gone. All the boomer shooters, gone. Open world survival, that's fine, they can go. The backlash that Hactic received was pretty bad. You had nitwits, subhumans, all rallying behind Kenney to basically shit on this guy without even making a small amount of research. It got so bad that Hactic was hit with a community note, and it wasn't even that good either. All it did was link back to the Steam page for Kenney's game without even providing a bit of information. Even the Games Radar article popped up after what happened, and even they fucked up their own research. If you're a journo, you are basically, how about a ghoul? Hactic made a response tweet apologizing to Kenney, and it got just as much backlash as a tweet advertising his game. Hey everyone, thanks so much for the feedback about Floor Corner. I'd like to publicly make an apology to KenneyNL. Upon seeing everybody's reactions to the game, I can definitely understand that I've stepped over the line with taking impersonation. It is definitely not my intention to make a ripoff of his game, and I understand that as it stands, the similarity in UI and overall direction makes it appear so. For that reason, I'm going to be making changes to the art direction in the most offending areas. Over the coming weeks, I am going to work more on finding a more original art direction and visual design for Floor Corner that will allow the game to stand on its own merit. This ruined his reputation, or at the very least did at the time, because nobody in the replies bought the apology, instead thought it was an excuse when it wasn't really done on purpose. Kenney goes out of his way to accept this apology and offers him advice about inspiration, and then proceeds to roundhouse kicks him by saying, "I'd like to accept your apology if it matters at all. I hope that you'll find a way to create a truly unique experience. As for inspiration, try to find multiple sources and combine the best of each, not just one source. You brought nothing new to the table, which is a shame." It's funny that this guy is saying you brought nothing new to the table, which is a shame, when gameplay wise he's quite literally bringing nothing to the table. Seriously, when I think of Room Builder, I think of something simple like Animal Crossing, or if we really want to get fancy here, hidden bases on Pokemon. Obviously these games don't mainly focus on room building, but it shows that this really isn't an original concept that this guy came up with. So when you're saying something like, you brought nothing new to the table, you sort of come across like a jackass. Now we are taking a bit of a visit to the eternal fire pit, Reddit. There was a post made on Reddit that goes in depth on what has been going on with the drama between Kenney and Hactic. Now, what do you think Kenney does when Reddit man makes a post about what he had done on Twitter? Does he A, ignore the post completely, B, respond to each point made in the Reddit post, or C, cry about the post. It's C, it's fucking C. Kenney takes to his Twitter account and talks about the Reddit post, and this is something that the majority of people are not talking about, but Kenney portrays himself more like a victim. I've spent my life giving away nearly everything I create for others to freely use. Seeing someone take that last bit of what I decided to keep for myself is devastating. I chose to tell you all how sad it made me, and somehow it ended up in me being accused of bullying. People that have followed me for longer know that I've been struggling with my mental health for quite a while now, and this seriously breaks me. It feels like even my own passion projects are considered public domain, up for grabs for everyone to take. I'm not even sure if I should keep creating because I honestly can't keep having to deal with this, whether it's being framed or bullying or having my stuff taken. There doesn't seem to be a point to being kind or being creative anymore. If you're a keen eye, you can see Kenney is trying to emotionally prime his audience into thinking he's being maliciously attacked, so that when his audience sees this, they'll think that Kenney is someone who would never do anything wrong, and are going to take his word at face value. It honestly worked too, because if you read the Twitter replies, you can see nothing but overwhelming support from the audience. So is that Reddit post framing Kenney a bully? I thought so initially because of the post itself, painting Kenney as this evil god like he's Homelander. Seriously, this guy uses words like Kenney descends from his ivory tower, Hectic agrees to change the game because at this point he is completely at Kenney's mercy. This guy also harps on the idea that Kenney sent his followers after him, which honestly an argument can be made there, but ultimately Kenney has no control over his audience at all. But what about the replies? Well, you'd be remiss to know that the replies are actually more tame than Kenney thinks. You can't own an entire genre or idea, end of story. If someone else beats you to the punch in releasing it, well, tough luck. And if the idea is so precious, then don't share it publicly until the game is already released. It sounds like there was no direct stealing of assets or sound effects, so what's the problem? Yeah, it sucks for Kenney that his game is so generic that someone was able to spin up a near identical competitor game before he made it to release. But ultimately his game should be able to stand on its own merits. Throwing your weight around on Twitter is never a good look. Dude needs to pull his head out of his ass. My stance is that the core idea is not unique at all. Rooms.xyz has been a thing for 2 years or so, recently won some Apple Dev Award as well. The whole mini room diorama stuff has been going on for much longer than that. There are whole subreddits about it. In addition, Hectic's game focuses on growing plants, which is also what his past game, the one that was actually released, focuses on. I think KenneyNL seems to think he's innovating, but he's also copying some stuff that came before. It's definitely a stretch to think he owns the genre, Square UI, or sound effects. These were just a few examples, and I'll link the thread in the description so you can see this for yourself. But also some replies are defending Kenney, saying that the art styles are too similar. Honestly, I had to read context to know which image was from which game, so it seems there's a little more similarity than either creator should be comfortable with. That is my take on the situation as well. The asset style, the UI, even the background to the application. No one seeing this with the additional context would assume anything but a ripoff. Personally, while Kenney certainly doesn't own the low poly, comfy style, I do think Hectic went a little bit too hard on the inspiration. In any case, this definitely should have been resolved in private. Well, what about the tweet Kenney showed when he was being called a bully? Kenney was using that reply pretty dishonestly because no one else but that person was calling him a bully for using his audience to attack Hectic. So unless Kenney wants to further elaborate how Redditors are framing him as a bully, these replies are not as bad as Kenney is making them out to be. After the Reddit post came out, Kenney and Hectic talked in the DMs and are now on good terms, which is great. But just because the situation is now resolved, it doesn't mean that people can't give the retrospective on it. Kenney, however, doesn't believe in this. The drama at this point was dead, but was unexpectedly revived when a YouTuber called Big Fright TV made a video talking about the situation called "This Dev was accused of ripping off another game." A video that basically explains the drama up to this point. It was a great video that gave pretty good coverage as well as his own opinions on the topic. There is nothing wrong with doing something like this, right? Unfortunately, a sizable YouTube channel made a video on the recent happenings, which means I'll receive a ton of hate again. While I love to create and share what I do, this is making it unbearable for me. I cannot take all the messages anymore. I'll be back soon. promise. Anyone with a brain would realize that getting hate when the block button exists really isn't stopping you from creating and sharing assets. You are doing that yourself. You're really eyeing that victim card right now and you really want to use it. All of that doesn't even matter anyway because Kenney didn't get any hate at all. In fact, there was an overwhelming majority of people that were supporting Kenney under this tweet, and his audience of people who think he's blindly getting hate were also shitting on Big Fry TV for doing something that most YouTubers do anyway. Unless you actually think you got hate, in which case you can check the comments of Big Fry TV's video, because most of the comments are just disagreeing with you without outright hating on you. And again, with the Reddit post, which gives you the option to sort replies by whatever you want, you can see that everything's fine. Unless you're daring and chose to go find some downvoted replies, then yeah, you got hate alright, but by retards. In conclusion, KenneyNL is someone who should address the dramas properly instead of playing the victim when others calls him out as bullshit. And I don't really have anything else to say. Go play Battle Network or something. See ya.